Looking to be more productive and jump those hurdles of change and challenge easier? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Thrive in Life with your hosts, Zaheen Nanji.
Hello and welcome to the Thrive in Life show. I'm your host, Zaheen Nanji. And another great episode with another great guest on something different, but yet on how to thrive in life. Now, this episode is sponsored by my courses, which you can find on theresiliencephampion.com. Actually, there is no "the" on it, so make sure you just go www.resiliencephampion.com. Got lots of online courses for you on there, so have a peek at it and see what it feels like to you. All right, without any delay, I would love to introduce my next guest, Dr. Alan Simberg. He has a PhD in counseling psychology and is a licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed chemical dependency counselor. In addition to being certified in applied clinical nutrition, he is a certified NET practitioner, a certified Mind PT master, and has been certified by Mary Morrissey as a dream builder coach and life mastery consultant. Wow, Alan, good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. He's got 46 years of experience helping individuals, couples, families, and organizations to identify their challenges and implement solutions. He's also engaged in esoteric studies for 5 years with a spiritual teacher, and he incorporates his learnings and knowledge in everything he does, including the Mind PT neuropsychological principles. Alan has found this holistic treatment approach to be highly effective when serving his clients. I am going to link his website in the show notes as well, but Alan will tell us at the end how to get a hold of him. Alan, welcome to the Thrive in Life show.
Well, thank you, Shaheen. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. So first of all, let's just start with, I'm amazed with how many trainings you have gone through, and I like that because it just shows me that we're always willing to learn and educate ourselves, and it never stops.
I agree.
So what made you get into being a therapist, or what made you go into these different areas?
Well, actually, in a sense, that's a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I decided about being a therapist was when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was sitting on a piano bench in the house where I was raised, and I heard my parents talking. And my father was telling my mother that one of our relatives was coming over. And my mother said, well, what's the reason she's coming over? And my father said, well, she's having a problem, and I'm going to talk with her and see if I can help her. And I remember immediately thinking to myself, I want to do that. Someday I want to talk to people and I want to help them. And it just seemed like it was just a natural thing, like even throughout school, like I was one of those people that my classmates would come to me and ask me, what do you think? What should I do? My sister also did that an awful lot, asking me for my advice. And then the way I got involved in all the different areas of my life, in a sense, is I was led. And I don't mean that like, woo-woo, I was led. But what I mean is I either had certain experiences that brought me in certain directions, or I had certain opportunities that just presented themselves. So I'll give you a few quick examples. Mm-hmm. One of the things that got me involved with nutrition was at one point I got the flu, and I was a young adult at that point. And I went to the doctor, got the antibiotics, and after I supposedly got better, I still didn't feel well. Mm-hmm. And I was working in a school system at that time. Mm-hmm. And one of the teachers was telling me about health foods. Mm-hmm. And I knew nothing about that at all. And she suggested that I go to this health food store, that they would be able to help me. So I went to the health food store and I asked for their recommendations. They told me what to do. I did it. And one of the things that occurred to me was, how could somebody like that working in a store tell me what to do? I was always accustomed to going to medical doctors. So I decided to investigate. And with all my investigations and also with my other experiences in terms of getting healed through nutrition as opposed to traditional methods, I thought to myself, I want to do that. And as a quick aside, this may sound a little bit strange to some people, but at one point, one of the things I did was I went to a reader, and it was a reader of past life experiences.
Okay.
And one of the things the reader told me was that I was a medical doctor in India in a past life.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to stay in India because my practices were not acceptable, because I practiced nutritional approaches rather than traditional medical approaches. And rather than going into the whole story, there's a whole bunch of story connected to that, but the essence of it is that reinforced in me the idea of continuing to do my investigations and recognizing that that's something that, in a sense, maybe I carried over from a past life.
Yeah.
And then let's say, as a quick example as to what led me to get my degree in marriage and family therapy. I was working in a clinic, and one of the secretaries there was connected to a local university, and she told me about a new program they were starting to train marriage and family therapists.
Oh.
And up to that point, I had come to realize that working with adolescents didn't make as much of a difference as if you didn't work with their families too. So I enrolled in the program. I applied and got accepted. So that's basically a medium-sized answer of what got me not only into doing what I do, but how some of the ways I was led.
So with looking at what you have done, it incorporates the physical aspect of us, right? Like nutrition, physical aspect, but then you also have the other side, which is the mindset, or mental health, right? And when I say that you treat clients holistically, what's the difference, or if there is one, between mental health and physical health, if there is, and how can we work together to thrive in life? How can we put them together to thrive in life?
That's a really good question. Well, I think that there is a difference between mental and physical health, but I think the treatment of them goes together. So, for example, with mental health, it's how you think, how you process information. Physical health has to do with the way you're able to navigate your environment on a daily basis. Do you have energy? Are you able to focus and concentrate? And the way I look at health is that what traditional doctors look at as disease, I look at as being being out of balance. Health is what I call being in balance. So we all have stronger parts to our beings, and we also have parts that maybe have some challenges to them. The idea is to minimize the challenges, learn how to manage them, and learn what we each need to do to have a balance mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, so that we can be balanced with some consistency. It's never going to be perfect, but so that we can be as balanced as possible so that we can manage whatever challenges come into our life.
I like that. So even though they're different, we need both to balance our life. Now, tell me what kind of tips would you have then for our listeners and viewers? And by the way, listeners and viewers, I say both because some of you like watching the show on video, and you can get that on my website, zaheennanji.com, or on my YouTube channel. and some of you like listening to it as a podcast. And so wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, I like that you do that, so thank you. And also leave just a review on your way out to say what has helped you about the show. So coming back to listeners and viewers, and the question I had in mind is how can, or what are some of the tips that you can provide to us on how to thrive in life, keeping in mind that we need to stay balanced?
Well, I think the most important thing is for people to do their very best not to judge themselves.
That's
and yeah, and I think that what goes along with that is the way you perceive your reality. And the way I generally talk about this is that we can either label or we can assess. When we label, we're basically judging. We're considering things right or wrong, good or bad. When we assess, we're determining what's acceptable to us and what's not acceptable to us, determining what it is that we would like to see different, and then identifying the strategies to create those differences. So I think the key to thriving in life, and to me, thriving basically means being the best that you can be as consistently as possible, and accepting when you may not necessarily meet up with your expectations, but realizing that that's really okay for that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's most important is to take care of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual sides. So in a nutshell, what that really comes down to is self-care. So one of the ways that we can have self-care in the thinking part, or the psychology, so to speak, is to be gentle with ourselves. When we think something and we start to get upset, we can challenge ourselves in the way of saying, well, what makes me think that it has to be this way? What other ways can it be? What are the pluses and minuses? So it's developing a strategic approach as opposed to a judgmental approach. In terms of physical health, it would be eating as consistently as possible in the most healthy way possible. And to me, the most healthy way possible is eating in a way that you do not spike your blood sugar. You don't eat in a way where your blood sugar has very high peaks and very low valleys, and that you don't, as a rule, eat when you're hungry, but you eat before you get particularly hungry.
Yes.
Because there's a saying, even in terms of thirst, that by the time you're thirsty, it's too late.
Yeah.
In terms of emotional and spiritual, because I kind of see those in a way as having somewhat of a closer connection.
Yes.
It's self-care. Self-care in the sense of doing things that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
Taking breaks from your everyday schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps having a practice like meditation, deep breathing, being out in nature. Mm-hmm. Doing those things as consistently as possible on an ongoing basis helps you to manage your daily stress in a way that it does not become distressful, and allows you to have access more readily to solutions and strategies to the challenges that you face on a daily basis.
Okay. That I like the tips that you gave after as well, even though you say stop, judging, and it comes down to self-care, which is very important. And I say that self-care is also being selfish, because you are taking care of yourself, and sometimes that means you have to be selfish about your time and about your boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I like that you gave the strategies of how you can do that, like meditation, take a break, eat on time, not until you wait. So that's great. And time is just flying as we go along. But I have one more question because I am intrigued, and I'm sure that the listeners and viewers are, is how do you bring in the esoteric or the spiritual aspect now? Because you've been trained in that, you bring that in your trainings, in your coaching. Tell me, how do you help your clients bringing in that to them? And are they accepting of it, or does it take time for them to put their heads around it?
Okay. Well, I can give you an example of that. Very often, the clients that come to see me tend to be very self-judgmental. Okay. And they tend to look at a lot of their behaviors as either bringing punishment to themselves or wanting to behave in a way that they can prevent being punished. And what I explain to them from the spiritual point of view is my perspective of the law of cause and effect. And I tell them that I do not see that from within the perspective of punishment. I see it from within the perspective of when we do something, when we say something, when we don't do something, and when we don't say something, there are consequences. Consequences, I explain, are not punishments. They're things that happen. So I give a very simple example to start with. I say, if I hit my arm on the table, my arm is going to hurt. If I want to continue to have my arm hurting, I'm going to continue to hit my arm on the table. There could be things in your life that you don't want to see happening again. So what would be helpful would be to identify a different outcome that you would prefer, identify the strategies to take to have that outcome, obviously apply those strategies, and most likely you would get a different outcome. So one example I'll give, let's say in couples counseling, is you have been used to arguing in a certain way. I teach a technique called active listening, where each person really gets to have a say, which means each person actually has the opportunity to be heard, which minimizes the potential for misunderstanding and maximizes the potential for a joint effort to find a mutually acceptable solution.
Yeah. And with active listening is so huge because we jump to conclusions. And when it comes to couples, we are judgmental about ourselves and about the other person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I always say this, that I learn so much from the guests that come on my show. And I'm always learning something new or something to implement. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to come on today and to share this with us. And I'm sure that the listeners and viewers are very grateful for that. Now, can you believe we're towards the end of our show time here?
No, that was really quick.
It was really quick because it was really good information. So, Alan, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, people can reach me on my website, which is alansimberg.com, or my other website, which is lifemasterywithalan.com, or they can call or text me at 281-785-0660.
Okay, and whereabouts are you, Alan?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Okay, all right. Oh, and you're also offering a free gift, which is a mind PT session?
Yes. Yeah, basically I did a recording which helps not only balance hormones, but it helps people to have a positive experience in their daily living. So what I recommend to people is either listen to it in the morning, if that's reasonable, or you can also listen to it in the evening. It's also mobile, so it can be listened to on the phone.
Okay.
And there's images, there's music, there are phrases, and they all combine to priming the mind to be as positive as possible.
Okay. And is it specifically for women? Because you mentioned it's hormonal balance. Or
No, actually,
okay.
I put it together for addiction treatment,
Oh,
but it really applies to everyone because everyone can use a positive mindset.
okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, you heard that. You get a free gift, and I would love to listen to that. And I will put the link to the gift as well as the website on my show notes. So make sure you go to zaheennanji.com and get those links as you go to the episode with Ellen Simberg. And you will see all the episodes again on zaheennanji.com/TIL. That stands for Thrive in Life. Now, you only get one life, so go make it count. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Bye now.
Thanks so much for listening to Thrive in Life with your hosts, Zaheen Nanji. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit ZaheenNanji.com. That's ZaheenNanji.com. We'll catch you on the next episode of Thrive in Life.